Okay, kids, it's nice lick time once again, and today's lick is a little bit rock and roll, a little bit rockabilly, and it goes like this. Nice lick. I actually forgot to do that bit in the last nice lick video, and I feel it's quite an important part of these videos, so I'm going to try not to forget again. In fact, I might just do it one more time now. Ooh, nice lick. Anyway, as I said, this is a nice rock and roll, rockabilly type of a lick, and as usual, I'm going to take you through how to play the lick note for note. But rather than me just bark string and fret numbers at you, I'm also going to try and explain a little bit about the theory that's going on behind this lick. And that way you'll have a bit more of an understanding about what's happening, and you'll be able to deploy similar ideas in nice licks of your own. So let's get to it. So essentially the lick we're dealing with here goes like this. It's giving you kind of an E7 sound. I'm playing around with some different ways of playing an E7 chord, and then it's ending with like an E blues lick or an E minor pentatonic lick. Then all I'm doing at the start of the video is I'm playing the same lick, but I'm transposing it to work over an A7 chord, and I'm basically doing the same kind of a thing. So why don't we start with these E7 shapes, and I'll explain to you what I'm doing here. A good starting point might be this 7th chord shape. I'm sure most of you know this one. This is an open position D7 chord. It's got an open D string and then A, C, F sharp. Now if we want to make that a movable shape, we can just move all of those notes higher. So I could play 2nd fret on the D string and then 4 on the G, 3 on the B, 4 on the high E. We've moved all of the notes from this D7 chord up a tone, and we have an E7 chord, and because we no longer have open strings in that chord, it's then a movable shape. So E7, F7, F sharp 7, etc. So it's a useful little shape, this one. So I'm taking this E7 shape as my starting point, but what you can then do is you can find those same notes that we're playing in this E7 chord in a few different places higher up the neck. And technically what we're doing here is we're inverting this chord. So it's just finding some different voicings really of the same chord, just so you've got some more options and some different sounds when you've got an extended period of time playing over a single chord. So taking this E7 chord as our starting point, we've got the notes E, B, D and G sharp. If we invert that chord, if we find those same 4 notes in the next possible place higher up the fretboard, we arrive at this shape. And the notes are the same. We've got G sharp, D, E and B, but they're in a different order, and that's really what is meant by the term inversion. So we've actually got the 3rd of the chord in the bass here. This is the G sharp note, but it's still the same chord, it's still an E7. And we can do that one more time. We can find those same notes here. We've now got a B, an E, a G sharp and a D. That's the 9th fret on the D, G, B and the 10th fret on the top string. Again, it's E7. This time we've got a B as the lowest note, so we're in the 2nd inversion, the 5th is in the bass. And we can actually do this one more time, finding those same notes here. Now we've got D, G sharp, B and E, same notes but in a different order. So this is an E7 in the 3rd inversion. So we've actually got the 7 or the flat 7 in the bass. So we've got this really nice series of different ways of playing an E7 chord. And then we can play the same as our first shape an octave higher if you want to, going backwards. So it's a useful series of chords. Jazz players might refer to these kind of chord shapes as drop 2 voicings for reasons that I'm not going to go into in this video, but they're useful voicings. You hear them a lot in jazz. Players like Wes Montgomery, when they do their chord soloing, will use shapes a bit like this one. Now, moving on to the lick, I'm not in fact playing these 4-note voicings. I'm dropping the note that's played on the D string, and I'm simplifying slightly, so I'm just playing the notes on the top 3 strings, and it makes it slightly easier to play, and in this kind of rock and roll context I think it sounds a little bit better as well. So the shapes I'm using are just going to be this, so it's 4-3-4 on the G, B and E. And then I've got this one, that's 7-5-7, and then up here it's the 9th fret, 9th fret, 10th fret, and then finally this shape here, which is 13, 12 and 12. And the lick kicks off like this. We go, you can see I'm just playing around with those shapes. I start by just playing an open low E string, then I'm hitting that first shape and I'm just sidestepping, going 1 fret below and then back to the chord again, which is a very typical rock and roll device. So this is just really a passing chord, just a semitone below our main chord. And I'm doing the same thing off of the next shape, hitting that low E again and doing the same thing up here. And playing all of this with a bit of a swing. The rhythm here is 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3 and. So on this shape I think I'm going, got a little slide down I think, so I'm playing the E7 twice, sliding down and then back up again. Then we're into our little bluesy lick. So this is just E minor pentatonic. I've got this double stop, which is a G and a B note. It's the 8th fret on the B string, 7th fret on the top string, giving that a little bit of a push sharp. And then we've got E, D, B, that's 9 to 7 on the G, 9 on the D string, sliding down 2 frets, and then we've got G, E, D. So that's the first half of the lick, I suppose. And then what happens is I'm really playing the same thing, but I'm moving it to fit an A7 sound. So I'm playing the open A string, and then I'm playing these same shapes. And because we're now thinking A7, I'm starting down here with this shape. It's 2 on the G and the B, and then 3 on the high E string. Then I'm moving up to this shape. This is 6, 5 and 5. I didn't actually use that shape on the E7 chord, but it fits well over the A7. And then up to this shape. This is 9, 8, 9 on the G, B and E strings. Again, you can do that little slide down if you want to. And then we've got another blues lick. So this is exactly the same as we played over E, but it's moved up to the 12th fret, so it's now A minor pentatonic. So, and the only difference is the final note. So I'm actually resolving to the 3rd of the E chord. We're going back to E here. So I'm ending the lick like this. 10 to 11 hammer on the A string. And then we're back to an E7 kind of a sound, and this time I'm just working my way down through those 3-note chord shapes. So I'm starting with the 9th fret shape, so 9, 9, 10, and then going to the previous shape. And the lick wraps up with this classic rockabilly phrase. All played with double stops. It's very reminiscent of something you might hear Cliff Gallup play, but everybody in rockabilly does this kind of thing. And we've got a pair of open strings, just the open E and B, and then we've got this double stop pull off idea. So it's the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret to the open strings, played first of all on the high E and B strings, and then we're just moving that down through the string pairs. So same thing on the B and G, same thing on the G and D, and then just 2 open 2 on the A and D strings. So and if you want to, you can just end with a nice E13 chord. That's just the open low E, 2nd fret on the A, open D, 1st fret on the G, 2nd fret on the B, and then an open top string. So it's an E7 chord, but we're adding in that C sharp on the B string, which makes it a kind of a 13 sound. Nice ending chord, that one. So that was nice lick number 8. I think have some fun learning this one. Previous episodes can be found archived on my website. There'll be tab up on my Patreon page in PDF and Guitar Pro formats, so check that out if you're interested. Thank you for watching. See you later.